Okay, so now we have the arduous task of having a look at Gundabad. So I will once again set up the game and then we'll go through Gundabad's very high tier roster. Okay then. Now, Gundabad are generally thought of as the worst faction in the mob. And is that justified? Well, kind of. It depends really on what you think about some of their tools that they have that kind of overcome their shortcomings, because the difference between them and the Misty Mountains Orcs is basically that the Misty Mountains Orcs mainline is a little bit better, whereas Gundabad do have a bit more variety in what they have. They also have better trolls, which is, a very big part of what makes the Orc faction so dangerous. But let's go through their units. So the Snaga Stalker is quite possibly the worst unit in the game. It's either them or the Breland Militia. There's a lot of them, but they are just garbage. They really can't beat anything in melee, except for maybe militia units if they overwhelm them. Then you have the Orc Fellows. These guys are shock infantry, but their stats are too low to really be useful. They're kind of cheap, but they're honestly not cheap enough for how poor they are, I think. At least that's my opinion of them. The other low tier units they have are the Hillmen. These guys are actually okay for their price point. The problem is the amount of men they have in the units. They can do Skilltron, just like most low tier spears. Again, maybe a bit too expensive for not enough men, because with Gundabad you really need to outnumber the opponent regardless of who they are. So moving on to the main infantry you're going to be using, sort of the Goblin Band are again, well, they're low tier again. They're basically Orc Band, only they have a little bit more defense and a little bit less attack. I think that's how it works. But, again, they're going to be trash. They're going to be sent forward to die, basically. As for their main infantry units, now the Orc Marauders are actually not bad, mainly because they have a lot of men in their unit, more than any other main heavy infantry unit. Usually you have 201 on huge scaling for the Orc heavy infantry. You get 251 Orc Marauders. Again, they're decent in the sense that they can overwhelm opponents. If you're caught in a quality battle, you will beat no one with these guys in a heavy infantry clash. You will do okay against heavy goblin infantry, but you'll still lose because, again, low quality units. As far as the Orc Halberdiers go, they're the worst pike unit. I have them break on me pretty much all the time. Mainly because, again, there's a lot of them, but their quality is too poor. And when they get outflanked, which is the idea behind pikes, well, behind attacking pikes, you're not going to be able to save them from routing. They're not as good when the pressure is on. And the main infantry line of Gundabad is just not good enough. The Orc Bodyguards are the same as they are in the Misty Mountains Orcs, and that's fine, but there's not enough of them to make a difference, unless you were going to have, like, loads, but this is too much investment into too little men. Then there's the other part of them, which is really, really poor, and that's their archers. They have Snaga archers. These guys are garbage. Do not get them. If you're gonna insist on having an archer contingent at all, get the Goblin Trackers, because while the missile damage is still not brilliant, it's only 5. These guys, only 4. But, these guys can actually withstand a little bit more pressure, and Gundabad have got by far and away the worst skirmishing force in the game. Well, yeah, I'd still maintain that's true, even in spite of these guys, but we'll get on to them. The Wargs, again, the problem with the Wargs is they're just not durable enough, and they're actually cheaper than the other Wargs that the other factions have, so it might be worth getting them on a field battle, but you gotta remember that these guys in a cav fight are gonna be thoroughly outclassed. The charge is decent on them again, but in sustained melee, they are dreadful. And again, under archer fire, they will get melted. The human units, I've already been through the Hillmen. Now, let's get on to something that's a little bit more positive about Gundabad and why I think it's possible they could be better than the Misty Mountains Orcs. And that's a collection of units. One, you do have the Scouts, which are a cheap cavalry unit. You can use them for pretty much, they are low tier cav, so it's worth saying that these guys are not going to be sort of going toe to toe with Swan Knights. But it's another option that the other Orc factions don't have, except for Mordor, of course, and their Black Numenorians. These guys, however, the Rordor Axemen, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm probably getting it wrong, are essentially Pelagia Marines copies, which means they will throw a javelin before charging into melee. In melee, they're a bit lackluster, kind of like the Marines, but that javelin, the initial javelin throw, means these are the ideal units to back up your maybe not so good Orc Marauders and Halberdiers. This gives you an option which the Misty Mountains Orcs, well, they do have it in the shape of their Snaga skirmishers, but these guys are better because it will give you more of an edge in melee. Like, they're not going to win a melee fight, but they're certainly going to maybe give you the edge you need. And then, of course, there's your troll contingent. You don't get troll catapults, which is a bit of a shame, but you do get mountain trolls, which is a cheaper option, the cave trolls, which, of course, you get as the Misty Mountains Orcs, and, of course, the snow trolls. These guys, the only trolls better than them are the Olag High, and I would recommend stocking up on 2 of these if you can. If the funds allow it, get 2. It's quite an expensive investment, but these guys will do a ton of damage, and they will back up your Marauders and your Halberdiers to a very good extent. And that's really the idea behind Gundabad. Even more so than Mordor and the Misty Mountains Orcs, you need to be aggressive and you need to overwhelm your opponent quickly, because you cannot get involved in a skirmish with them because you will lose. And really, I would say the biggest problem Gundabad have is being aggressive against pikes. If you've got decent pikes like Gondor, you're laughing against Gundabad because you're going to be able to hold the line and overwhelm their flanks a bit too easily. You need to be wily as Gundabad. You really need to outmaneuver your opponent, trick them if you can. But in this situation, I'm going to be holding the line against a bigger force. This might be one that I lose as well, similar to Eriador and Rohan. So let's pick our army. Obviously, we're going to want Orc Bodyguards, we're going to want 2 Snow Trolls, and we're going to want, I think, 4 of these guys and at least 6 Halberdiers. And the rest, I think we can just stock up on Marauders. This is an army you probably won't be able to have normally, although you will notice that I still have a lot of money left, so you will be able to get your elite troops on the field for less than pretty much every other faction, which could balance things out a little bit. But even so, Gundabad's troops are just so poor, as I'm sure we'll find out. Snow Trolls, maximum armor, that's always nice. We're going to want you guys to have upgraded weapons. The Halberdiers are going to want more armor. And the rest I think we'll just spend on chevrons for the trolls. And my Orc Bodyguard unit. Can we get another chevron on one of the Axemen? We can. Okay, let's start. I should still win this because while the Orc Halberdiers have the worst pike unit by a considerable margin, they're still pikes. And charging into a line of pikes with the infantry that I've given the enemy is not going to work. Playing on the Mordor map. Right, let's see. That's Rohan. That'll be Dale. Eriador. Eriador's the reinforcement army, so I should deploy it over here, I think. You'll notice that I have literally 0 archers, which may well lead to my demise. Also, what I was saying earlier about the Orc Halberdiers maybe being not quite so good, you notice I cannot form spear wall with them. Even though in the description it says you can, don't believe it, because they cannot form spear wall, which makes them easily the worst pikes, because every other pike unit can form spear wall. Even the Heavy Goblin Halberd and the Uruk Halberds, they can form spear wall just fine. These guys' only saving grace is that there's a lot of them, so it's perhaps more difficult to get through them, but even so, it's just not good enough. It really isn't. Right, we're going to want the Axemen to be our reinforcement line. Behind them, the enormous amount of Orc Marauders that we have. We'll put a unit of Trolls on either side. These guys are going to have to win me the battle because I haven't brought archers. I want to use the Axemen and I want to sort of demonstrate what sort of battle you're going to have to fight as Gundabad, because you might want to bring like 2 or 3 units of archers, but the majority is going to have to be infantry. That reminds me. Going to want to put these guys in guard mode. They're going to take a while to get into melee. Let's get a screenshot. He's putting his club through his head, which is a bit unfortunate. I like the little bucklers these guys have. They're very sturdy, they're very good trolls as well. Like, you'll notice cave trolls and mountain trolls will often start to die off quickly, whereas the snow trolls and the Olag High are one step above, which these guys are really the main selling point of Gundabad. Like, they are very, very good, but the rest of the army, with the possible exception of these guys, if you use them right, is just garbage. The Orc Marauders can be okay en masse like this, but, I don't know, like, archers are going to be the main bane of Gundabad's existence. Cav can also be a real problem because Hillmen are the only real spear unit they have that's quick to move. We're going to need to speed this up, get them into melee as quickly as possible. As the rain comes down. Well, let's come on. Looks like Rohan is going to make the first move. We're going to try and flank around, of course, but that's going to go exceptionally poorly for them, because that's where my trolls are located. Nope, Dale is going to come in first. Interesting. Okay, the Gadrorts can be engaged by my Marauders. Orc Marauders can go out to the flank as well. We want to keep a lot of reserves, though. This guy's charging into the melee. I may well lose this one, I don't know. Some Royal Guard coming over here. That's not good. The rest of it's just spears though, and militia. It's not going to be too much of a problem. Only evenly matched victory suddenly is looking to be likely. Let's get these trolls into those Royal Guard. Gonna need to. The trolls will do a good deal of damage over here. I don't want to use the trolls for as long as possible on this side. So we'll get these Orc Marauders in there. Alright, you know what? We will in fact deploy all of our Axemen now. Use their javelins. The Axemen are probably the unit which I think do tip Gundabad over the Misty Mountains Orcs in terms of overall quality, because they can be used to pretty devastating effect. Victory is almost a certainty. That is not good at all. Let's get some Orc Marauders around the flank. My other trolls still haven't lost a single unit model yet. Seem squashing the Royal Guard. Again, highlighting Rohan's weakness. No pikes means the snow trolls can pretty much go to town on everything. You're going to need to rely on ranged units, and, well, not cav, but certainly your missile cav to deal with them as Rohan, but this isn't a Rohan battle. The Axemen can be pretty hard to use though, because you want them to use their javelins as often as possible, because in melee they're not ideal, in all honesty. Let's get those into the flank. Already we're starting to run a little bit low on reserves. Over here, the Axemen. The trolls are just crushing the units over here. The centre doesn't look to be too heavily packed, so I think the Halberdiers will probably be fine. Those are the Earls. Over here I'm a little bit more concerned. The Orc Marauders are not doing a terrific job, and now the Eriador forces are going to be coming over. Let's get another unit of Orc Marauders in there. Just patch up the line. You can see how many Orcs you need to have. Like, the units they're fighting are Ravanian Gadrorts. Like, they're not particularly fantastic in an open melee. They're spears, for Christ's sake. But, you know, there you go. Oh. Let's get them in there. Need to reform the lines a little bit, I think. Victory does suddenly seem certain. I think we'll probably be fine because I think the trolls, they don't have really much that can deal with the trolls as such. Just dealing so much damage to them, and that's what you're going to have to rely on with Gundabad. There might even be a case for allowing a 3 troll rule for Gundabad if you play them with even funds, because their main infantry line is that terrible. Like, you can see one unit of Orc Marauders has been sliced apart by a spear unit, which shouldn't be happening with Medieval 2 mechanics. These guys are not in melee, so it looks like the Axemen are taking the brunt of the burden at the moment, which is fine because it means my Halberdiers can live on without spear war. These guys are not in formation. There's a bit of a problem. Looks like we are breaking them though. Okay, I think the time has come actually to deploy everything. Let's get into the Earls with these trolls. 1 free unit of Orc Marauders can go over here. And my general can move up. 3 chevrons on that Axeman unit. And he's dead. Well, he did well while he lived. There goes the Dale general. I actually got to see his unique unit model for once. He blends into the Earls a little bit too well.
The enemy are badly bloodied. They have lost half their men.
Trolls are going to be going to town on this unit over here. Seems like everything is breaking in the centre, so let's just move out. Moving forwards with the pikes. Now you know what? Orc Bodyguard can go in as well. It's the one infantry unit I have that's actually got some sort of genuine quality. The Marauders have been heavily damaged in areas, but we've done okay. But it's just... this is what Gundabad do. They just sort of like try and get their numbers into the fight and hope that it's enough. And hope that their trolls can do the damage necessary. Maneuvering your trolls is really the most important thing as Gundabad. Oh, Orc Halberdiers. Well, we are routing them off the field.
Defeat seems almost certain.
Defeat still seems certain. Get those Orc Marauders into the fight. Gundabad are just such... like... I really don't know how to put into words how poor this faction is. Like, the Misty Mountains Orcs have not got a lot of variety, but what's there at least is half decent if you use it right. Whereas these units, the Marauders, the Halberds, there's a lot of them, but they're all so garbage. It's unbelievable actually, how garbage they are. That's not to say Gundabad can't be a fun faction to play, and it's not to say you can't play them. Like, you can. Like, I've won as Gundabad before, in like sieges. I haven't won as them in a field battle, it must be said, but well, I haven't won as them recently in a field battle, I should say. But then I don't really go to play Gundabad an awful lot. I tend to try and avoid them. Let's see, we're routing the enemy off the field. Looks like we're going to win this one. Yeah, pretty comfortable, I think. What are the trolls doing? Routing. Routing. The enemy armies are pretty much all routing. Get into them. 3 gold chevrons on the snow trolls. This is what you're going to need to be seeing. How much more units do we need to rout? Can't be that many. Just these yawling swordsmen? Seems like everything else is breaking. And there we are. again, look at that, 1,000 kills in a situation like this. So many of my men were just cut down because I have a lot of soldiers, but none of them are of good quality. Let's see. Yep, the snow trolls, 414 kills. Mostly, I think the breaking was caused by the terror that the trolls were imparting. The halberds, like, again, not a lot of kills going on here. The Marauders, 224, that's not bad. I'm guessing they were against a particularly weak section of militia. But there really isn't a lot to say about Gundabad other than they are probably technically the worst faction. I prefer playing them to the Misty Mountains just because there are some more options there. Like the Axemen unit with the javelins, they're pretty decent if you can use them correctly. And just the fact that they have certain things like their wargs are cheaper, they have scouts, like there are these interesting things. In particular, of course, the snow trolls are what gives them their viability in most situations. But if you're playing as Gundabad with even funds against someone like Arnor, you have handicapped yourself. And there might be a case for saying maybe Gundabad can use 3 trolls, or maybe Gundabad gets a 1,000 or 2,000 gold advantage, because it really is like that. Like Arnor versus Gundabad, or Gondor versus Gundabad with even funds would be like a Gondor mirror match with one player having 2,000 florins less. It's not good. Anyway, next time we will go back to the realm of good factions, both in morality and in how good they are, and that'll be the Sylvan Elves, making a return to the Elven realms. And they're a faction which I enjoy, so next time I'll be able to speak more positively about a faction, and I'll see you then.